Part 72. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 711. The shout was so loud that it went straight to the sky, not to mention Muzi, the whole school teachers and students might have heard it. Muzi stood stiffly at the door of the classroom, completely dumbfounded. What happened? The classmates roared with laughter and staggered. Zhuangjie laughed and ran over, pulled Muzi back to the seat, and asked, "Are you surprised? Are you irritated?" Muzi, I didn't think it was a surprise, but the excitement was really exciting. Not long after, the teacher walked in, with a smile on his face, and said, "Okay, everyone, don't tease Muzi anymore. Kind teasing is fine, but jokes must be moderate. Let's start class now." Only then did the atmosphere in the classroom calm down, and the students opened their textbooks and began to listen to the class. Zhuangjie passed a small note to Muzi, asking Muzixi if she liked the surprise gift she had prepared. She said that she planned to gather everyone at the school gate to greet her at the beginning, but the voices shouting at the school gate were not concentrated enough, and the weather was cold recently, so she decided to stay in the classroom. A row of black lines appeared on the corner of Muzi's forehead, and she gritted her teeth and said to Zhuangjie, "Thank you so much." Zhuangjie was so happy that she buried her head under the textbook and kept laughing. After class was over, he came over to apologize to Muzi again, as if he didn't think it was a big deal to watch the excitement. Muzi pinched her face with both hands, and squeezed hard for a long time before calming down. Zhuangjie pulled Zhang Xinyuan over, and explained with a suppressed smile, "I really can't blame me. Xinyuan can testify, I'm just offering a suggestion, choose one of your most inspiring words during the court debate, and shout it out to show encouragement, but the classmate if you insist on choosing this sentence, what can I do?" Zhang Xinyuan also suppressed a smile, nodded and said, "Yes, we have selected several sentences, and we all think it is very good, but everyone thinks that the sentence is too long to shout out enough momentum, and the laws are difficult to memorize, so we finally chose this one." Muzi supported her forehead, and closed her eyes in embarrassment. She really didn't want to face all this. But Zhuangjie wanted her to face it, so she found that video from her phone and showed it to her. "Which version is this?" Muzi asked her strangely. "Why is it different from what I watched? It also has subtitles." "Zizi, don't act like an old aunt, okay? This is a barrage." Zhuangjie's slender fingers flicked lightly, and it happened to be the part where Muzi questioned Zhang Rong about lying. The entire phone screen was full, dang, full of foreskins. Muzi was speechless. "Look, here are the comments." Zhuangjie read it to Muzi, "I never knew that the sentence could be said with such an awe-inspiring aura. It is not vulgar, but infinitely noble. And this comment, foreskin has made a difference in my life. Same meaning. The previous comments are the ones with the most likes, and most of the rest are ridicules about forming a group to circumcise. What about an appointment? Let's go, everything is messy." Muzi murmured embarrassingly, "I don't think it's good for you to be like this. The court is solemn and it's not suitable to be entertained like this." Zhuangjie laughed and patted her, "Ha. I hate it, you are so serious, ha. Muzi, where is the joke?" Muzi finally began to feel the trouble of being popular overnight. Not only the classmates in the class paid attention to her, but also the neighbors came to see her in the class one after another, like watching a gorilla, and some people secretly took pictures of her. Distraught for a few classes, the head teacher asked her to go to the office. Muzi was a little apprehensive, wondering if what she did was affecting the school's teaching order. It turned out to be a false alarm, and the class teacher asked her how she did in the judicial assessment this time. Muzi heaved a sigh of relief, and estimated his score with the teacher carefully, and he should be able to enter the re-examination. The teacher was relieved, and asked her to go back to class. Before leaving, she smiled and said to her, "The lawsuit was well done, especially the questioning of the foreskin was very sharp." Musei. Teacher, please don't be like this. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua. Chapter 712. Musihong was so sudden that even the colleagues in Mu Rongxuan's office had heard about it. Although Mu Rongxian didn't know what was going on, but he was also with Yu Rongjian. When he saw Musei coming home from school, he greeted him with a smile. Seeing that smiling face made Musei's skin crawl. Mu Yun is still the same, with the airs of a famous lady, with a strange look. Other than that, everything at home is as usual, and Musei, who has become popular on the internet, has not changed much in her life. A few days later, Chen Kailing arrived in Xinjiang and asked Musei to meet. Regarding Chen Kailing's matter, Musei heard from Chu Mingjun that it was a lady in Jingling City whose relatives were imprisoned for murder and had been in prison for 2 or 3 years. She wanted to ask Musei to help reverse the case. It is said that there are witnesses and physical evidence, and after 2 or 3 years, the possibility of successfully overturning the case is very slim. However, if someone asks to come to the door and is full of sincerity, it is not easy to refuse the door, and you should meet up if you are emotional and reasonable. Chen Kailing attached great importance to this meeting, and asked Chu Mingjun specifically what kind of food Musei likes to eat, and set the meeting place at a restaurant. When the two met, Chen Kailing looked at the face in front of her that was exactly like her husband. She paused for breath, and couldn't help but think of Ning Yue's words. Although she didn't believe it, she had to secretly marvel at the coincidence in the world. Musei and Sidu Yan look too much alike. It's no wonder that some people have such absurd speculation about an illegitimate daughter. If Chen Kailing didn't have a lot of trust in Sidu Yan, she might be suspicious. As an intermediary, Chu Mingjun introduced the two. This is Ms. Musei, and this is Ms. Chen Kailing. The person involved in the case is Ms. Chen's younger brother. Let's sit down and talk slowly. The three sat down. Chen Kailing looked at Musei's face, and couldn't help asking, "Miss Mu is familiar with the law since she was young. Are her parents also engaged in the legal profession?" She even wanted to see what Musei's parents looked like. "Will it be similar to Sidu Yan?" Musei smiled and shook her head, and said, "Ms. Chen, you took the initiative to come to see me, which means that you believe in me. If so, please believe to the end, so that we can cooperate more without distractions, right?" Musei misunderstood Chen Kailing, thinking that the other party still had doubts about her abilities. Chen Kailing smiled embarrassedly, "You're right." Before the food they ordered was served, Chen Kailing first showed Musei the materials she had brought, which contained the records of the court trial, statements of witnesses, photos of physical evidence, and the autopsy report of the deceased, which were very detailed. "Have you ever appealed?" Musei discovered that there were 2 copies of the trial records. Chen Kailing nodded and said, "Yes, but the original verdict is still upheld for the second time. The lawyer for the first time was not good, and he didn't try his best at all. The lawyer for the second time did a good job, but unfortunately the evidence was not enough to impress the jury." After reading the materials in his hand, Musei asked Chen Kailing, "Can I make a copy?" "Stay." Of course Chen Kailing hurriedly said, "Miss Mu, take it. I originally copied this material." While talking, suddenly there were 2 flashes outside the window. Musei frowned, looked out the window. There was a car parked on the side of the road, and there was a person holding a camera by the window, quickly retracted into the car, and closed the window. This is nothing unusual. Ever since she became popular on the internet, there are always some sneaky people around her secretly taking pictures. Musei didn't take it to heart, and continued to discuss the case with Chen Kailing. However, it was this carelessness that made her angry again. The next day, the headlines on the major media websites were all about Musei. The title is extremely dazzling: True or False Daughter? The illegitimate daughter of a wealthy family. The meeting between Chen Kaling and Musei was actually misinterpreted as, the Sidhu family wanted to recognize their long-lost daughter. Looking at the nonsense in the news, Musei felt as disgusted as swallowing a fly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 713. The outside of Mu's house was surrounded by reporters. Musei guessed that the school was not quiet, so she simply asked for leave to rest at home. Chu Mingjun made a special call to apologize to her. I didn't know she was Mrs. Sidhu, Chu Mingjun said angrily. I thought she was the wife of a wealthy family in Jingling, but who knew her husband was Sidhu Yan? It's ridiculous, how could there be such a big misunderstanding? Mrs. Chen obviously came to discuss the case, so why did she become a relative? Have you contacted Mrs. Chen? Musei asked him. Chu Mingjun said, leave as soon as the news comes out. Otherwise, the hotel should be blocked by reporters now. This matter should be aimed at her. Musei rubbed her head irritably. She came here quietly, the reporters on the Qingjiang side don't even know her identity, it must be the news from the Jingling side. The surname Chen is very common, and Chen Kaling hasn't shown her face in front of the media much. If it wasn't someone from Jingling, who would know that she came to Qingjiang? Chu Mingjun asked, are we still taking the case? Musei sighed, and said, it's meaningless to pick it up now, lacking decisive key evidence. Let's see what's going on with Mrs. Chen first. What a disaster. Musei felt that she was very unlucky. After hanging up the phone, he turned around and saw Bai Wei standing at the door of the room, staring at him blankly. Mom, what's wrong? Musei asked. Bai Wei looked hesitant, hesitating to speak. Zizi, is Mrs. Sidhu here to pick you up to Jingling? Musei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Mom, don't you? You also believe that kind of news? Sidhu Yan is going to be the president in the future, so am I the president's daughter? Don't be joking. Mrs. Sidhu came to me for her brother's sake. Lawyer Chu was also present at the time of the case, but the angle of the photo is very special. Lawyer Chu was not photographed. After hearing this, Bai Wei felt relieved and breathed a sigh of relief. However, within 2 seconds of relaxation, she couldn't help asking, Zizi, you really never thought about looking for your father? Musei looked at Bai Wei helplessly. Mom, are you willing to let me be judged all my life? Bai Wei immediately shook her head. Then you keep the secret in your stomach, don't tell anyone. Musei told Bai Wei, forget about Ruan Li, I am just an orphan you adopted from the Ruan family. If the reporter asks you, you should do the same answer, don't mention Jingling. Musei was afraid that Bai Wei, who had soft ears, would not be able to withstand the bombardment of the reporters, so she used the family affection strategy to gently hug Bai Wei and act coquettishly. Mom, I don't want to go anywhere, I just want to be with you and brother. Mom is also reluctant to part with you. Bai Wei couldn't help but slightly flushed her eyes, and gently touched her daughter's head. Mom is afraid that you will be bullied when you go back. Yes, if there is a stepmother, there will be a stepdad. I will definitely not have a good life when I go back. Maybe I will be bullied, Musei hurriedly echoed, strengthening the effect. So, Mom, for my happiness, you must not say leaked, you know. Bai Wei thought of some news about stepmothers abusing their original children, and immediately nodded with tears in her eyes. Seeing Bai Wei nodding her head, Musei felt relieved, and at the same time murmured in her heart, Why is Murong Cheng still missing after such a big incident happened at home? The news of the illegitimate daughter also caused an uproar in Jingling. As a popular candidate for the president, Sidhu Yan had already attracted much attention, but now when the news came out, there was a lot of curses. A fickle man, a heartless man, who abandoned his daughter for more than 10 years and ignored him, his approval rate dropped by an unknown number of percentage points overnight. Old Mrs. Sidhu trembled with anger, and slammed the newspaper on Chen Kailing's face. Look! Look at what you've done. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 714. Mom. What are you doing? Sidhu Yan had a headache. This has nothing to do with Kailing. You still protect her. The old lady was furious. If she hadn't recklessly ran to Qingjiang, how could such rumors spread? I think she did it on purpose. She is remembering that we didn't save her back then. When her younger brother came out, the Chen family collapsed, and she wanted our Sidhu family to follow suit. I didn't, Chen Kailing argued. Mom, I really didn't know this would happen. Enough, the old lady interrupted her. Yue Wei can tell that the girl is uneasy and kind. You are such an adult, can't you see it? What is the most beautiful judicial candidate? I think she is doing everything for fame and fortune, deliberately borrowing to hype yourself up. Chen Kailing, let me tell you, if Yan loses this election, you will be fully responsible. Chen Kailing's face suddenly turned pale, and she looked at Mrs. Sidhu in shock. Mom, what do you mean by that? The old lady's old voice was cold and hoarse. Chen Kailing, you married into my Sidhu family and didn't have a son or a daughter, so I won't mention it, but now is the critical period for my son. Success or failure depends on it. You want to delay it, defeat him, and don't enter the gate of Sidhu's house in the future. Chen Kailing was still hit hard and froze in place for a long time, unable to recover. What does the old lady mean? Do you want Sidhu Yan to divorce her? But what did she do wrong? She just wanted to save her brother. Mom, Sidhu Yan couldn't bear it anymore. I'm 40 years old, not 14. Do you know how to respect? Kailing is my wife, now and in the future. Always. As long as I am alive, no matter how old you are my son, the old lady scolded. Have you had enough noise? Old Mr. Sidhu suddenly roared. The living room immediately fell silent, only Chen Kailing's low sobs remained. Mr. Sidhu looked dissatisfied at the mother and son who were on the verge of sword fighting, and said in a deep voice, Yan has been targeted. No matter whether Kailing goes to Qingjiang or not, the news will come out. What needs to be considered now is how to solve the problem, instead of complicating matters. He stared at his wife sternly. When the child grows up, hurting his face is equivalent to hurting his heart. Don't say things like today again in the future. The old lady has a bad temper. When she was young, she was a proud young lady. When she was old, she became even more mean. In this life, she only subdued in front of Mr. Sidhu. She was still upset with a downcast face, and she didn't say anything after all. Sidhu Yan helped Chen Kailing back to his room. Mr. Sidhu stopped him and said, come to my study in a while and tell Secretary General Zhou to come over. This is a meeting to discuss countermeasures. Sidhu Yan nodded, turned around and went back to the room with Chen Kailing. The door closed with a slight click. Ning Yue in the room heard the voice, walked out of the door lightly, and listened to the bedroom door of Sidhu Yan and his wife, but did not hear the quarrel. Uneasy in her heart, she quietly retreated to her room. Today's news took her by surprise. Although it was her who spread the news, she obviously just bought the news positions of a few small websites. Why did the headlines of those big websites all include the news about Mu Ziyi and Chen Kailing's meeting overnight? This is so weird. Ning Yue felt that the current situation was very wrong. She wanted to bury a thorn in Chen Kailing's heart, but she never thought of affecting Sidhu Yan's election. Why did it become so loud? Ning Yue called the editor-in-chief she knew, but the other party's number couldn't get through. She had a vague premonition in her heart, as if things had gotten out of control, out of her imagination. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 715. The next day, the news about Sidhu's illegitimate daughter further fermented. Different from the previous day's guesswork, this time there is a lot of dry news, and the story of Ruan Li and Sidhu Yan is vividly depicted. He pointed out that Mu Zi was the child that Ruan Li gave birth to back then. Ning Yue looked at every sentence in the report, every word, time, place, name, all the information was true. She was completely dumbfounded. How could this be? It's not news that she's sold. She just wanted to stir up the muddy water and make Chen Kaling hate Mu Zi, but what's going on now? Could it be that Mu Zi is really Sidhu Yan's illegitimate daughter? Ning Yue deeply felt a kind of absurdity. What a fool. She just threw out a smoke bomb, trying to create an illusion, but unexpectedly the illusion turned into reality, like a silent mockery. Ning Yue finally regretted it. Why did she provoke Mu Zi? What should Mu Zi do if she takes advantage of this opportunity to live in Sidhu's house? The scandal of the illegitimate daughter plunged the Sidhu family into a huge public relations crisis. One inadvertent handling, perhaps Sidhu Yan was cut off from that position. The old lady was furious at home, she tore up the newspaper angrily, but the newspaper can be torn, but the crazy information on the internet cannot be stopped. This is a conspiracy, the old lady roared angrily, using the media to put pressure on us and force us to admit her identity. She is as insidious as her mother. Mr. Sidhu's opinion is completely opposite. If it is true, the child should be taken back, and the blood of the Sidhu family should not be left outside. I don't agree, the old lady said, I think it was calculated by that child, I will never let her succeed. Have you ever thought that she might be a Yan's only child? Mr. Sidhu asked her calmly, maybe we will only have this granddaughter in this life. The old lady was stunned. The son is already 40, and if he could have given birth, he should have given birth long ago. If she can't give birth in the future, then this Mu Zi will be the only one left of her son, the only flesh and blood. The old lady's heart throbbed. For so many years, she wanted to hug her grandchildren like crazy, but why was it that woman's child? Mr. Sidhu called several cronies to his home to discuss how to resolve the crisis. Everyone thinks that a paternity test needs to be done as soon as possible. Once it is confirmed that Mu Zi is a child of the Sidhu family, they must be brought back. Otherwise, Mu Zi's existence will become a sharp weapon for political enemies to attack them from time to time. During the whole negotiation process, Sidhu Yan remained in a daze. He couldn't believe that he had a daughter outside. Although some people said that this might be a scam, but Mu Zi's appearance was there, and Sidhu Yan couldn't ignore it. She happened to be from Xinjiang, and happened to be related to Ruan Li, so Sidhu Yan didn't dare to think about it. The meeting went on very late, with meticulous attention to detail, and the next day's speech to the reporters was carefully finalized before everyone dispersed. After Sidhu Yan returned to the room, his wife stared at him blankly. Chen Kaling murmured to him, "Who is Ruan Li?" Sidhu Yan was silent for a long time, walked around Chen Kaling, walked to the cabinet, opened the bottom drawer, and took out a photo album from it. At that time, you asked me who was the one who was cut off, but I didn't tell you, she was Ruan Li. Sidhu Yan opened the photo album, revealing the incomplete photos inside. His throat seemed to be choked, his breathing became sluggish, and the familiar pain returned. There is only him in the picture. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 716. Chen Kailing gradually regained consciousness. If this is the case, she actually knows something. She and Sidu Yan were introduced by elders, and they were considered to be on a blind date. At that time, Sidu Yan was already 30 years old and had a girlfriend. It's no big deal, isn't it normal for a 30-year-old man to have had a girlfriend? Even Chen Kailing herself had someone she liked when she was a student. Who doesn't have a few strands of lovesickness in their youth? She didn't mind, she got along with Sidu Yan seriously, and then got married as a matter of course. Once I accidentally found this photo album. Every photo in it was a group photo, but the other half was cut out and became incomplete. At that time, she and Sidu Yan had been married for several years, and their relationship was stable, so she didn't shy away too much and asked him about it. Sidu Yan said that when his ex-girlfriend broke up with him, he cut the photo. He also said that it was meaningless to keep the remaining photos and let her dispose of them casually. Chen Kailing has a cautious personality and has always been careful to keep it. She feels that it is very disrespectful to burn and throw it away easily. After all, these photos are also part of Sidu Yan's experience. Unexpectedly, the incomplete woman in the photo was originally called Ruan Li. But, didn't you say you broke up? Chen Kailing looked at him in a daze. If she was pregnant with your child, why did she propose to break up? Sidu Yan shook his head slowly. I don't know. Chen Kailing asked him again. The news said that Ruan Li committed suicide by jumping off a building after giving birth to her child. Do you know that? Sidu Yan closed his eyes in pain, and the haze enveloped him. I don't know. He doesn't know anything. Ruan Li is a very arrogant woman. When she agreed to go with him, she was desperate, and when she decided to leave him, she did not procrastinate and left nothing for him. Even the photo of the two of them once had to cut off their own half. During those days, he had a difficult relationship with his mother, and spent all his time drinking to relieve his worries. Later, his mother chose another celebrity for him and forced him to marry him. He couldn't stay at home any longer, so he simply ran away from home. At that time, he also wanted to find Ruan Li, not for the sake of getting back together. Ruan Li was young and arrogant, and Sidu Yan was equally arrogant. The proud son of heaven in his early 20s was dumped by a woman. In addition to being sad, he also felt unwilling. It's a pity that he was stopped halfway away from home, and his father and uncle threw him into the army, where he stayed for 7 or 8 years. Time is a good thing, it can make people forget the pain. Time is also a bad thing, it will change many people and many things beyond recognition. After Sidu Yan came out of the army, he became mature and stable. He buried his youthful feelings in his heart, accepted the political path arranged for him by his family, and married Chen Kailing at the same time. These years passed peacefully, and occasionally dreamed back at midnight, and met the amazing woman in the dream. He thought in a daze, maybe Ruan Li never existed, maybe she is just a dream, beautiful and ethereal. But he didn't expect that he would have a child. That Ruan Li who left cruelly gave birth to him a daughter when he didn't know it, where he couldn't see it. Sidu Yan's heart was clenched tightly, it was about to break. 18 years ago, the atmosphere was not as open as it is today, and unmarried children will be looked down upon. Gossip is enough to destroy a person. How can that proud woman stand it? I'm sorry for her. Sidu Yan held Chen Kailing's hand with a deep voice. Kailing, if that Miss Mu is really my child, I want to take her back and make up for her. Chen Kailing was also upset. After so many years of marriage, the husband she thought was loyal suddenly had a daughter outside, and no one could accept it. But after thinking about it carefully, he couldn't be blamed, it could only be said that it was a trick of fate. Chen Kailing nodded and said, okay. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 717. The night is lonely, and there is a sweet and warm fragrance in the room. Musei was in a deep sleep when she heard someone calling her name softly next to her ear. "Baby, wake up." There is only one person in the world who can call her that. Before Musei opened his eyes, the corners of his mouth turned up. "Why did you come back?" She half opened her eyes, and subconsciously lifted a corner of the quilt, letting him wade into sleep together, but Murongcheng fished her out of the quilt. He had just come back from the outside, his body was covered with cold air, the buttons inlaid with obsidian were hard and cold, sticking to her warm and soft skin, soaking in a trace of coolness. Musa couldn't help shivering slightly. Although it was cold, she still clasped his shoulders firmly with both hands, and asked in a low voice, "What are you doing?" "Come out with me." Murongcheng kissed her forehead, and then helped her change her clothes. His hand went into the pajamas. Musa felt itchy, she fell on the bed giggling, her head touched the pillow, sleepiness struck again, she was a little lazy and didn't want to move. Murongcheng picked clothes from the closet and put them on for her one by one. After tossing about for a while, he finally made Musei's drowsiness go away. "Where are you going? No one can sleep in the middle of the night," she muttered. "Go out to do some errands, come back and let you sleep enough." Murongcheng opened the door, and coaxed and dragged her out of the room. Just as she was about to go down the stairs, Su Shi's voice woke Bai Wei up. Bai Wei ran out and opened her eyes wide when she saw the brother and sister looking like they were about to go out. "Rongcheng, you promised me that you are not allowed to enter your sister's room, and you are not allowed to take her out without permission. We have something to go out for a while." Murongcheng went downstairs with his arms around Musei without looking back. "Mom, it's getting late, go to bed quickly." "Bai Wei. She has no parental authority at all, does she?" Musei was taken out by Murongcheng and stuffed into the car, still laughing non-stop. "You are too much, Mom must be so angry that she can't sleep now." Murongcheng pinched her nose and said angrily, "I'm not here for you." After finishing speaking, he started the car and drove out of Mu's house in the vast night. Musei asked him curiously, "Where are you taking me?" "You will know when you go." At 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, the car was driving in the bustling city center and finally stopped downstairs of a building. Musei looked up and was dumbfounded. "Isn't this a TV station?" "Why are we going to the TV station?" Musei asked. Murongcheng held her shoulders and walked in, and said lazily, "What can I do on the TV station?" "Of course it is to record a show." "What?" Musei was even more surprised. Why did she still feel that she couldn't keep up with Murongcheng's brain circuit after getting along for so long? "Because the TV station often records programs until the early hours of the morning. Even at this late hour, the lights are still brightly lit." Walking through the revolving glass door of the building, the inside is resplendent and magnificent, with many staff coming in and out, and if you go further inside, you need to go through security checks. Musei wanted to ask Murongcheng, how could they get in without a work permit? Before he could speak, he saw Gu Liang and a group of people standing not far away, as if they were talking about something. He saw Musei and Murongcheng walking towards them with smiles on their faces. "Studio B on the 10th floor," Gu Liang said to Murongcheng, then called 2 staff members and ordered, "Take Miss Mu there." The Gu family started from the entertainment industry, and this TV station is one of the Gu family's businesses. Musei was taken away in a daze. A makeup artist puts on her makeup, and then someone helps her with her hair. The director gave Musei a piece of paper, and said kindly, "Ms. Mu, this is a question that the host will ask later, and the answer is below. You should familiarize yourself with it first. It's best if you can memorize it. It doesn't matter if you can't. There is a word board, so don't be nervous." Musei looked at the paper and immediately understood. Murong Cheng wanted to completely sever her relationship with the Sidhu family. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 718. 18 years later, no matter how capable the reporter is, no matter how good at digging up news clues, they can only stay in speculation and association, without evidence. Unless a paternity test is done, who can be 100% sure that Mu Zi is Sidhu Yan's child? In fact, except for Bai Wei, no one in this world knows Mu Zi's true origin. As long as Bai Wei doesn't show up, Murong Cheng can make a big fuss here. Mu Zi walked into the studio, and the host was the most popular Mr. Matt. This person is widely welcomed by the public with his humorous and sharp language style, and has attracted countless fans. The biggest feature is that his words are amazing, and he often ridicules and criticizes hypocritical politicians, especially popular among young people. Specially arranged this host. Mu Zi felt Murong Cheng's good intentions more and more. How could the daughter-in-law who had been brought up with great difficulty just be taken by Sidhu's family casually? Mu Zi walked into the studio to record the program. Murong Cheng and Gu Liang sat in the auditorium next to them, chatting with each other. You have to thank me, Murong Cheng said. It's rare for the Gu family to come forward to support a president. If you waste all your efforts because of this, you will lose a lot. It's not like your character to make money losing business. Gu Liang's eyes looked at Mu Zi under the light, and he said calmly, being a good boy when you get a bargain, this sentence was probably made for you. Murong Cheng smiled, leaning back comfortably with his long legs on the back of the seat in front of him. I said, you're already old, why aren't you married yet? Murong Cheng asked him. Gu Liang squinted at him, aren't you married too? Can I be the same as you? Murong Cheng raised his finger and waved it in front of Gu Liang's eyes. I'm younger than you, 4 years old. Little girls nowadays like girls who are older than themselves. Gu Liang smiled slightly. When you are with boys of the same age, you will feel childish, immature, and insecure. There is also a buzzword called uncle control. Do not you know? Murong Cheng frowned, and a haze immediately gathered in his eyes. Do girls like guys who are older than them? Speaking of his real age, he is actually 1 year younger than Suzy. Thinking about it this way, when she gets along with each other, every time she jumps her feet in anger, she will call him childish. Is he really naive? The more Murong Cheng thought about it, the more unpleasant he became, and he became even more dissatisfied with Gu Liang. This Gu Liang, talking is really annoying, every time he pokes people's sore spots. Murong Cheng slandered in his heart, but he forgot that just now, he was clearly the one who satirized Gu Liang for being old. See? This is uncle control, Gu Liang said again, raised his chin, and signaled Murong Cheng to look ahead. Mu Zi and the host were chatting happily, with crooked eyebrows, bright eyes, and a childish smile. You are so handsome, Mu Zi said, humor is a kind of wisdom, you are the most handsome and wise uncle I have ever seen. Gu Liang in the audience said softly, it seems that Miss Mu admires Mr. Matt very much. Unfortunately, I am too young, and I am afraid that I am not enough to be in Miss Mu's eyes. Murong Cheng. If I hadn't lent him back to the studio, I really want to turn my face and leave now. After recording the show, it was already 3:30 in the evening. Gu Liang said to Mu Zi, the next step is to do post-editing and subtitles. It should be released before 7 o'clock in the morning. Other news websites will broadcast it one after another. We have already said hello, don't worry. That means staff are up all night. Mu Zi was very sorry, and bowed apologetically to the director, camera, and others on the field. Thank you for your hard work. Then he said to Gu Liang, young Master Gu, thank you so much for today. You're welcome, Gu Liang said with a gentle smile. This time, Sidhu Yan's competitors set up a trap. In order to dig out black material, they always do everything they can. You don't have to worry too much, it will be fine. Murong Cheng urged him with a cold face, it's time to go home. Muzi suddenly turned around and ran away. Wait a minute, I'll go to Mr. Matt for an autograph. Murong Cheng was angry, come back to me. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 719. However, Muzi had already run away, completely ignoring Murong Cheng's annoyance. After a while, he ran back happily, holding a book in his arms, and showed it to Murong Cheng. Mr. Matt's book, the title page has his autograph. Murong Cheng said bluntly, let's go home and sleep. Muzi has long been used to his volatile temper, so he didn't pay much attention to it. He said goodbye to Gu Liang in a good mood, then followed Murong Cheng like a tail, and left the studio. Gu Liang looked at her leaving figure, feeling a little cold in his heart. Unexpectedly, there is actually such a hidden relationship between himself and Muzi. If Ruan Li had stayed in Jingling back then, would his situation be different now? Maybe. Muzi, who has lived in the presidential palace since she was a child, must not be the Muzi in front of her. The melancholy of not being able to ask for it makes the feelings ferment and become strong and bitter. He naturally knew Hua Rong's warnings, and also knew that Muzi had no intention of treating him. It was precisely because he understood all this that he felt even more desolate. After a whole night of precipitation, everyone in the Sidhu family seemed to accept Muzi's existence. The family gathers at the table for breakfast, with different thoughts. Sidhu Yan was in a trance, thinking that Ruan Li had given birth to a daughter for him, and she was so old that he didn't know it, and his heart was full of mixed feelings, which were hard to describe. Chen Kaling was thinking, no matter what happened, the child is innocent after all, and should not be involved in such a turmoil, and should be brought back to be made up for and taken care of. As for Mrs. Sidhu, she had a very bad first impression of Muzi, and now that her son's running for president was involved, she hated Muzi even more. It's just that Muzi in the photo looks very similar to Sidhu Yan, and she has a little love in her heart. After all, she is connected by blood. She can even vaguely find the shadow of herself when she was young from Muzi's facial features. But why was it the woman who gave birth to the child? The old lady was disgusted and reluctant, her mood was extremely contradictory, as if her chest was clogged with mud, and she felt oppressed. I haven't been disciplined by my parents since I was a child, so I am so flamboyant and unruly. She drooped the corners of her eyes and said annoyedly, after all, he is a child of the Sidhu family. After taking him back, he should be disciplined carefully, so as not to embarrass himself outside. The people at the table ate in silence, and no one spoke. The resentment accumulated in the old lady's heart could not be vented, and her tone became more and more mean. Now she should be satisfied, right? Don't you just want to enter the gate of my Sidhu's house after trying so hard? Well, it's just as she wants. It's also just for her to learn Shuiyue. How should I be a real celebrity daughter? Mom, if this child is really my flesh and blood, shouldn't we make it up to her? Sidhu Yan couldn't help saying, why are you always like this? Does everyone who wants to enter Sidhu's house not after your training, you can't agree with it? The old lady's lowered eyelids immediately raised, and she glared angrily, you started to protect her so soon. When the woman left, I didn't see her with a big belly. It's not sure who the child belongs to. Why are you so serious? Do you know where the bastard came from? And I am anxious. Do you still see me as a mother in your eyes? Boom. The exquisite sky blue painted porcelain bowl was placed heavily on the table, making a sound. The quarrel at the dinner table suddenly fell silent. Mr. Sidhu picked up the teacup beside him unhurriedly, took a sip, and said, "Kaling, you can arrange for a servant to tidy up a room later. The room at the southwest corner is very good, next to the greenhouse on the south balcony. You can see flowers and plants when you open the window, the little girl should like them all." The old lady was annoyed. "That room is Yue's piano room, why should I give it to her?" "Just because of the Sidhu family's blood flowing on her body," the old man replied. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 720. The old lady was so choked that she couldn't speak, her face was livid. As for Ningyue, she buried her head low. Even if she was not angry in her heart, she did not dare to say no to Mr. Sidhu. Things have developed to this point, how could she still not understand that she was being used by others? She felt ashamed to death, and regretted to the extreme. How many people were waiting to dig up the black information about Sidhu's family, but she foolishly gave away the information, which caused a catastrophe. How dare she meddle in Musei's affairs now? She was only worried that the people from Sidhu's family would track her down and find her. What would she do then? No one knew about Ningyue's uneasiness. In fact, no one cares about her feelings now, and everyone is trying to figure out how to solve the current crisis of public opinion with the least damage. In the middle of breakfast, Sidhu Yan's cell phone rang suddenly. He answered the phone, his expression changed suddenly, and he looked up at his father. "Dad, Musei has accepted an exclusive interview." So fast, the old man was taken aback. The news just broke yesterday, and today he released an interview to respond. Unless there is a professional public relations team, how could there be such a quick response? Mrs. Sidhu was immediately worried. Will she talk nonsense on TV? Accusing us of ignoring her all these years, and then earning public sympathy. I have already said that this child is not a good thing. Afraid of rebellion in her mother's womb, she deliberately opposed our Sidhu family. Sidhu Yan had no time to pay attention, and hurried to the TV, turned on the TV. The others lost their mood for breakfast and followed suit. On the TV, the host just asked, "It is rumored that you are the child of Mr. Sidhu Yan and his lover in his early years. What do you think about this?" "It's ridiculous," Musei replied. "Just because I happen to be somewhat similar to Mr. Sidhu, someone made up a romantic, beautiful, and tragic love story for an indescribable purpose." "What is the unspeakable purpose you mentioned?" the host asked. "Can I say it?" Musei laughed, a little playful and cute. "I'm worried that if I say it here, you will be blocked." "It's okay if Hwayaguo loses, Musei, but if you lose such an excellent host, that is a great loss for the audience." The host laughed. "No, Miss Mew, Hwayaguo can lose one host, but the truth cannot be lacking." Musei smiled slightly when she heard the words. "The recent presidential election has reached a feverish stage. I think the competition should be equal and above board. It's really hard for me to imagine that such a way of digging privacy and distorting facts will come from a presidential primary election. Forgive me for my youthful arrogance. I really think that a person who uses this method should not become the president of a country, but should become an editor, or become a novelist. Maybe there will be different achievements." The host asked, "Ms. Mew, what do you mean? The recent rumors are a kind of malicious competition." "Of course, otherwise, I really don't understand why I, an ordinary female student, would be on the headlines of all news websites at the same time. Could it be that everyone made an appointment?" On the TV, Musei blinked her bright black eyes with an innocent face. Outside the TV, Ningyue breathed a sigh of relief. Musei denied it. As long as Musei denies it, she won't go back to Sidhu's house to take her place. While rejoicing, Ningyue couldn't figure it out. Why did Musei deny it? Doesn't she know that becoming the president's daughter will be invaluable in the future? The old lady was also confused by this incident. She frowned and said, "So it wasn't." No, Mr. Sidhu gave her a cold look. You don't want to recognize her, and she doesn't want to recognize us at all. She doesn't look down on the Sidhu family, understand?